So Crime Watch Daily did a Hansen versus Predator episode today, and they teased it yesterday, and I put up a little video about it, and they played it today, and it was Chris Hansen, who we all know and love, talking to a quite animated predator named Derek Brett Deason. And this sting was held about a year ago. It was in March 2017 down in Jasper County, Georgia. It was kind of an underwhelming sting, though, right?
Yeah, it
sucked. They seem to have arrested 3 people. And this is a little different. We'll go over the format if you guys haven't seen the video. The video of the sting, there's links in the description. The Crime Watch Daily's page, there's 2 videos. And they arrested 3 people. The guy that we're going to talk about, the guy that they showed today, on sex charges. They arrested an 18-year-old on sex charges, but Chris didn't get to interview them because why didn't they get to interview him?
Because they hurt him while they were arresting him.
Yeah, they slammed the door on him while they were arresting him and injured his hand, so they had to take him to the hospital with a severely injured hand.
Yeah,
and then they arrested they called an ambulance. Then they arrested a 3rd guy, but not on sex charges, on drug charges and like a expired driver's license charge or some bullshit.
Yeah.
So this is probably going to be the only guy in this sting, right? That we're going to see on TV.
The reporter in the article, it did say that Hansen interviewed 2 of the men. So I don't know if he'll still talk about the one with the just drug charges or not.
Ah. So we'll have like a Michael Manzi type that just wanted to blaze with a decoy. Yeah. So now there's no group, there's no Perverted Justice, there's no Tetrad Corps, there's no group like that doing the sting. And Chris is basically a tag along. So the Jasper County, Georgia police are handling the sting, and there's a decoy, a woman decoy. Is she part of the police too?
Yes.
Okay, but she wasn't in uniform. She was just like in street clothes.
Right.
Okay. And she does the decoy work, this police woman, and brings this guy out to the house. And Chris has nothing to do with it, but they let Chris tag along and film. And then when the predator gets to the house, the cops jump on him immediately. Like he's not even. He's not.
As soon as he's out of his car.
He barely gets out of his car, and they're tackling him. And then they drag him into the house, and there's Chris.
Now.
And then. Right, go ahead.
There was a young decoy on scene. I'm wondering if they only tackled this guy because he had all the paddles with him and they didn't want him walking in the house with a weapon.
That's true. That could be true. So let's talk about this guy because he would have been a good predator. The thing is,
so goofy.
They arrest him before Chris has a chance to talk to him. So he never talks to a decoy at the house. He doesn't talk to Chris until he's already in handcuffs. So he's already handcuffed. And then they bring him out. So he never gets to dig himself into a deep hole or incriminate himself. This guy's from Alabama. His name is Derek Brett Deason. He's 39 years old. He's a full-time caretaker for his mother. He likes fish. And he says he likes to paddle young girls. He was into the spanking, wasn't he?
Oh, he loved the spanking.
How many spanking websites does he belong to?
Every single one. I'm not even joking. He's on every single one.
Right? He wants to know if Russian women like to be spanked.
Before he orders a mail order bride.
Right. You don't want to order your bride and then find out she doesn't like a good spanking.
Yeah. And then there's spankseek.com.
Spankseek. And there's Spank, the Spank Net, was it? Or Spank Tube?
SpankTube. It's a YouTube basically dedicated to spanking.
Okay.
And then there's the Spank Board. Where is it?
The Spank Board.
Forum. Yeah.
And
then he also
that's so good.
He hits up random women that just post blog and asks them to email him.
And this guy was divorced. Do we know? Does he have kids? Do we know?
I'm not sure. He was only married 1 year.
And she must not have liked the spankings.
I guess she didn't like it.
So they have a good part near the beginning in the first video on Crime Watch Daily site where the decoy is talking to Brett on the phone, and Brett's talking about how he's really going to beat her hard, right?
Oh yeah.
Like he says, like, I'm gonna spank you hard, and I'm not gonna take it easy on you because you're a girl. I'm gonna paddle your ass hard, like you're gonna have bruises, right?
Oh, he wanted to beat her silly.
Like this guy's like a spanking, the king of spanking. We're gonna call this guy. So he comes out to the house, and just like a regular Hansen versus Predator To Catch a Predator, he comes out to the house. But as soon as he gets there, half a dozen cops with guns out jump on him, tackle him, to the point where his face is all bloody.
His face is bloody, and it's great.
They put handcuffs on him, and they drag him into the house. He also seemed to be like a big Dr. Pepper and Coca-Cola freak, right? Wasn't his car full of like soft drinks?
The girl wanted him to bring Dr. Pepper.
But how many Dr. Peppers did he bring?
I don't remember them being that much, but there was a 24 case of Gatorade.
Oof. That's weird. So they bring him in, they sit him at this kitchen table. There's a couple cameramen there. There's a bunch of cops there. Excuse me. One of the cops is wearing like a big black ski mask. And Hansen comes out and says, "Hey, I'm Chris Hansen." And Brett goes, "Whoa, really?" And does a big double take, right? Yeah. Whoa, for real? Which was hilarious, with his hands cuffed behind his back. So Chris sits down and says, "I have, you don't have to answer me any questions because, you've been read your rights, but I have some things I'd like to talk to you about." And then starts hitting him up, what's he going to do? And he says, I wasn't really going to do anything. And Chris says, well, you brought condoms. And he goes, well, yeah, but I wasn't going to use them. And didn't he just buy the condoms at Walmart? There was a receipt.
There was a receipt.
He, on the way over, he bought 2 boxes of condoms.
And he did an oil change.
And an oil change, sure. And this guy Brett is making the funniest fucking faces, and he's got blood all over his face.
He's wincing like Hamburger did.
Yeah, right. Yep. And he says I like sadomasochism and I like role play, and he's hanging his head on the table.
I do role
and then
play.
I do role play. 2 words. And then that cop with the mask comes over and starts handing Chris evidence like it's fucking CSI, and hands Chris a bag full of hair. And Chris is like, "What's this?" I was like, "I don't know." Chris is like, "It's hair." And he goes, "Well, okay. I haven't vacuumed my car in a long time," which it looks like he didn't, because that car was full of crap, wasn't it?
It was full, but it was clean. He had like leather seats.
Was it?
It looked decent.
So there's a bag of hair and a couple boxes of condoms and all these Dr. Peppers and Coca-Colas and what? Movies. And then the cop brings in a big bag. And what's in the big bag? Paddles. Yeah, there's like a big stick. There's a whipping stick. There's a big honking paddle, and then there's like a smaller paddle with the holes for airflow. and Brett's like, well, just because I brought them doesn't mean I'd use it. And Chris rolls his eyes. So this guy got charged with 3 felonies, criminal attempt to commit a felony. That's a weird charge. Criminal attempt to commit a felony. Sexual exploitation of children, and obscene internet contact with a child. And this happened about a year ago, and he's still in the courts right now.
He was indicted on February 22nd.
Okay. All right. So that just means he's going to court now. Right. Or I guess he could still plead guilty if he wanted to. So he still has some time before he'll be sentenced. But he'll probably get a long time, because Georgia tends to be real strict with the sex predators if To Catch a Predator is any indication of that, right?
I hope he takes it to court.
But I'll tell you, Hansen versus Predator I liked. This was the same kind of setup and the same music and the graphics, but Chris's hands were totally tied because it was all run by the police, and Chris was just there as a tag along to ask questions after the cops already arrested him.
I don't get how he's allowed to interview the suspect after he's already been arrested.
Right? Or play with evidence and shit.
Yeah. Or search the car.
And Chris got to go search the car and play with the evidence. But Chris was really just a fly on the wall. he didn't have a whole lot to do with it. And
it wasn't
at
what
best,
we were used to.
now, and at best, there's going to be 2 predators. And there was no police interrogation either. They didn't show anything at the police station. There's no boom moment when Chris comes out. I mean, there was, but it was different because the guy was already arrested. You know, there was no talking to the decoy, no happy predator coming in with a big bag full of paddles. So, you know, it kind of sucked. It sucked. And, you know, it's going to be 1 or 2 guys. And that's too bad because this was a good predator. I mean, this guy was fucking funny and crazy and, you know, a dangerous guy. So he had everything you'd want in a predator. And he probably would have talked a lot. I mean, he talked, even though Chris said you don't have to talk, and he talked after being read his Miranda rights.
I see him as an Alonzo Wade. Yeah,
he kind of looked like that. He had the dirty sweatshirt on, you know, 40-year-old guy with a dirty sweatshirt. But we never saw a spanker on To Catch a Predator, so that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I give it a middle thumb. The Predator.
A middle thumb?
Good, but like, it's wavering in the middle. The Predator was good. The show was bad.
The show was bad.
It was.
I mean, it was
awful. And like,
it's worth a watch, but yeah.
It was a half an hour, like the whole HVP segment, and this guy got a total of like 5 to 8 minutes.
Yeah, there was a lot of setup, a lot of talking to the police and how they set up the house and how they had like dirty clothes on a clothesline and shit like that, right?
The wood and how they put lipstick on the cigarette butt so it looked like it was lived in.
Right, so some like fucking predator is going to come at night, some guy that they can show 3 different girls and say they're the same girl for the decoy pics, and they're going to look at cigarette butts in the yard to see if there's lipstick on it.
It's like, how much time and energy and money did they waste setting up this house, and all they brought in was 3 guys.
Exactly, and there's been really no news on it either.
No.
They invited a local reporter, and he did a little story about how Chris Hansen was there, but he didn't know who Chris Hansen was, so he wasn't impressed. And it looks like it was just there like on one day, right? Like they busted all 3 guys. Was it over a couple days?
Yeah.
And that reporter was there the whole time?
Well, they said that they didn't stay during the day because that's when the decoy's at school and there wouldn't be any interaction anyways. So they would come at night. But
why wouldn't they let this guy go in the house then? Were they scared he was going to bring paddles in the house?
I guess. I don't know.
Because they didn't show the young decoy.
This guy came after midnight. This guy, whoever wrote the article, the local news that was there, left around 11 and said they regretted leaving because that's when this guy showed up and she could have witnessed the unedited version.
Ah, okay.
So he showed up pretty late.
All right. So, yeah, no, it's a disappointment, and especially to wait, 2 years since they did the last To Catch a Predator sting, almost, 2.5 years since they conducted it, and a year since they filmed, showed it on TV, and to wait all this time to get this one guy and to have Chris, just as a fly on the wall, it's kind of bullshit.
It was crap.
It was crap. Do you think he will do more stings?
Well, I asked him on Facebook Live, and he said a new sting was at the top of the list, and they were preparing to go out in the field. I don't know if he's trying to play off this sting as that, or if he is doing a new one, and this is going to be a series, like the start to the HVP series for this year.
Yeah, but he said that last year, and he said that the year before, too.
I know, you can't trust a damn thing he says.
He always says he's about to go out in the field and do something. And here they are sitting on Vincent Ambrosio's fucking footage, and they won't show that. And that's gold.
The ratings would skyrocket with that.
His chat log was amazing, and his and his police interrogation was amazing, and his footage would be amazing. It was a big star, though.
It's all about the angle.
It's all about the angle. All right, boys and girls, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you later. Bye.